He wasn't supposed to see it, but he did. One quiet night in New York, a powerful billionaire walked into a restaurant and froze. There she was, the woman he trusted, the woman he'd spent years pretending he didn't feel anything for, smiling on a date with another man. But what looked innocent from her side shattered something hidden in him. Jealousy he never understood, fear he never admitted, and a truth he spent his entire life running from. Tonight, one touch, one smile, one moment will break the man who thought he couldn't be broken. Adrian Cole didn't usually show up at his own restaurant without a reservation, but tonight something pulled him there. Maybe instinct, maybe habit. Whatever it was, it stopped him cold the moment he stepped inside. Melissa Rivera was there, not typing beside him, not managing his life with her usual discipline, not the executive assistant who handled his empire with quiet precision for the past 3 years. She was laughing, and her smile was directed at another man. Julian Hale stood too close to her table, leaning in with casual confidence. When he touched Melissa's arm lightly, Adrian's jaw tightened so sharply the hostess flinched beside him. "Sir, your table is ready," she said softly. Adrian didn't move. Melissa rarely let anyone invade her space. She was strong without trying, careful with her boundaries. But tonight, she didn't pull away from Julian's touch. Instead, she smiled politely. Julian grinned. "So tell me, Melissa, ever get a break from that billionaire boss of yours?" "That's not how it works around here," she joked. Her laugh wasn't the polite office laugh Adrian knew. This one was warm, free, honest in a way he rarely saw from her. "Rich guys," Julian teased. "They think they own the whole world." Adrian's fingers curled once at his side. Melissa's phone vibrated. She checked the screen and her expression fell before she forced it back into place. "Bad news?" Julian asked. "It's nothing. Rent again." Adrian felt a cold prick beneath his shirt collar. She didn't flinch when talking to Julian, but she never said a word to him, not once in 3 years. Julian leaned in. "If your boss paid you more, maybe you wouldn't be stressed." "Julian," she said quickly, "don't start." Adrian turned away sharply before he said something he couldn't take back. He wasn't used to losing composure, but something about seeing Melissa shrink behind a smile while another man tried to play savior. "Cancel my reservation," he told the hostess. He walked to the elevator with controlled strides. This was ridiculous. Melissa was his assistant. He had no claim on her evenings, no right to feel anything at all. Yet he felt the crack forming anyway. One unexpected night had shifted something, and he wasn't ready for what it meant. Before we continue, this is Lifetale Stories. We tell moments that change lives, just like this one. If you're new here, subscribe and journey with us. Melissa stepped into coal industries early, her steps brisk and practiced. She always arrived early. 3 years as Adrian Cole's executive assistant had trained her into precision itself. But today, exhaustion clung to her eyes. She walked into his office with a folder in hand. "Your 9 o'clock board meeting is confirmed. I printed the financial notes." Adrian didn't turn immediately. He stood facing the skyline, hands in his pockets, posture too stiff for this early in the morning. "You didn't sleep," he said. She blinked. "Good morning to you, too." He faced her then. That wasn't a greeting. It was an observation. "Well, maybe keep observations to yourself today," she muttered. This was new. Melissa almost never snapped. She was usually calm, composed, diplomatic. Adrian knew her rhythms better than anyone he'd ever employed. His brows lowered. "Something is affecting your performance." "My performance?" she repeated. "You opened your mouth for 2 seconds and were already blaming me?" He stepped closer. "Melissa, if you are struggling—" "My personal life is mine," she said, more controlled now. I show up. I do my job. That's all you need. He held her gaze. Your rent increased. She froze. How do you know that? You mentioned financial pressure last week. I didn't mention rent. He didn't respond. He couldn't. He couldn't say he watched her face fall from 20 feet away last night, memorizing every small shift in her expression. She lifted her chin. If you're checking up on me outside of work, that's a problem. He stiffened. I am not checking up. I am ensuring stability. No, you're ensuring control. Adrian felt the sting, but pride kept him silent. Before either could speak again, Melissa's phone lit up. Julian, dinner tonight? I don't like how he treats you. She quickly flipped the screen down, but not fast enough. Seeing him again? Adrian asked. It was one dinner. I'm allowed to have a life. Not if he becomes a distraction. A distraction from what? Scheduling your meetings? From maintaining professional boundaries. You don't have a boundary problem, Mr. Cole. You have a control problem. The door opened abruptly. Tom, a junior analyst, stood there nervously. Sir, the board wants the revised projections. Adrian's tone snapped cold. Tell them they'll get it when I'm done reviewing. Tom flinched. Melissa's expression softened with concern. Tom, I'll send it in a moment, she said. Tom nodded gratefully and left. Melissa looked back at Adrian. You never talk to staff like that unless something is wrong. Nothing is wrong. You're lying. He said nothing. She stepped closer, lowering her voice. Talk to me. Not as your assistant. As someone who knows when something is off. But he shut down, before she could break through. Get to work, Melissa. Her disappointment flickered across her face before she masked it. She left quietly, but Adrian stared after her, pulse tight. 3 years of knowing her, and he had never felt so close to losing control. All because of one man touching her arm. The office thinned out as evening settled over Manhattan, but Melissa was still typing at her desk, her movements sharp and focused. She always worked late. It kept her mind from slipping into the places she didn't want it to go. Adrian stepped out of his office quietly. For a man known for presence, he moved with strange hesitation now. You're still here, he said. She didn't look up. You usually want things done by morning. That's not what I asked. Melissa paused, fingers hovering above the keyboard. I'm finishing the investor brief. I'll be done soon. Adrian watched her closely. She kept her shoulders straight, her voice even, but something in the tightness around her mouth gave her away. Melissa, he said. Sit for a moment. She turned in her chair. Why? Because you look like you're about to fall over, he replied. She looked offended for a moment, then exhaled. I'm fine. You say that often, he said. Usually when you're not. She shook her head and stood. Please don't start. I don't need to justify how much rest I get. A flicker of irritation crossed his face. Why do you insist on hiding things? Because it's my life, and I don't want to fall apart in front of my boss. She hesitated. Or anyone. The honesty surprised him. It surprised her, too. Adrian stepped closer. I didn't ask you to fall apart. I asked you to sit. She hesitated, then sat. He lowered himself into the chair across from her, studying her the way he studied coded data. Quietly, intensely, as if the smallest detail mattered. The office lights flickered once. Melissa startled slightly. Adrian noticed. You're tired, he said. She looked away. You're observant today? Or you're struggling to hide it? She bit her lip but didn't reply. Her phone buzzed beside her. Julian. I called twice. Why aren't you answering? Adrian's eyes narrowed. Persistent. Melissa quickly locked the screen. He's concerned. He's controlling. You don't know him. I know enough. She folded her arms. Adrian, Not everything he says is a threat. He's just protective. That's what men say when they want to own someone without calling it ownership. Her expression flickered with something: hurt, confusion, maybe fear. Is that what you want to do? She asked quietly. Silence settled, heavy and sharp. No, Adrian said. His voice was lower. Not you. Melissa felt her breath catch for reasons she didn't want to name. Her phone buzzed again. Julian. Dinner tomorrow, no excuses. She stared at the message a moment too long. Adrian leaned forward. You don't owe him anything. I know that. Then say no. You don't get to decide who I say yes or no to. Her voice cracked just slightly. It's not your place. He pulled back as if physically struck. I'm trying to help. No, she said, voice soft but firm. You're trying to control what you don't want to admit matters to you. For a moment he looked shaken. Melissa stood grabbing her laptop. I'll finish the brief at home. You're leaving now? Yes. Before you make this conversation any more confusing. She turned toward the elevator, but Adrian stepped into her path without touching her. Melissa, he said quietly, you should stay. It's late. That's not concern. That's control. It is concern. She blinked. His voice wasn't sharp. Not cold, not proud. Concern made it softer, unsteady. Before she could respond, a group of coworkers walked past, laughing loudly. Melissa pulled herself together instantly. Good night, Mr. Cole, she said. He watched her walk to the elevator, shoulders squared, pretending strength she didn't feel. He returned to his office and closed the door sharply. His control slipped the moment the latch clicked. He pulled out his phone and typed quickly. Name: Julian Hale, history, college alum. Known for charm. Reputation: protective. Adrian stared at the screen, jaw clenched. He wasn't jealous. He wasn't insecure. He told himself this firmly. But when he replayed Melissa flinching at her phone, replayed Julian's tone in her messages, replayed how tired she looked, he knew the truth. Something was wrong. And Melissa was pretending she could handle all of it alone. Julian lived just a few blocks from Melissa, so agreeing to the second dinner felt easier than arguing. She told herself she was going for the food, or the company, or to avoid explaining why she didn't want to go. But when she stepped into the warm little restaurant he chose, she instantly regretted it. Julian stood up with a grin that felt just a touch too eager. There you are. I thought you changed your mind. I said I'd come, Melissa replied, shrugging off her coat. Yeah, but you didn't answer my last messages. She stiffened. I was working. He raised a brow. Always working. He's got you trained, huh? She forced a small laugh. That's not how it is. Come on, Mel, he said, leaning closer once she sat. You don't have to pretend with me. I knew you back in college, remember? You weren't chasing anyone's approval then. She didn't like the implication. It's a job. That's all. Right. A job with a billionaire who acts like he owns you. Her jaw tightened. Julian, don't start. He lifted his hands in surrender. Fine. Fine. Not trying to ruin the mood, just saying, I'd never let you work like that. You don't get to let me do anything, she said calmly. I choose my responsibilities. Julian chuckled, but something tense flashed in his eyes. Yeah, sure, responsibilities. Their drinks arrived. Silence settled for a beat, awkward and heavy. Meanwhile, Adrian was nowhere near settled. His office felt too small. His thoughts were too loud. He'd tried reviewing a contract. He'd tried focusing on quarterly risks. None of it worked. His eyes kept drifting to the elevator as if Melissa might return. After 20 restless minutes, he left the office entirely. Eric caught up to him near the exit. Sir, are you heading home? No, Should I arrange? No. Adrian walked out into the cold Manhattan air, hands in his pockets, each step sharper than the last. He didn't want to admit where he was going, or why, but he was already headed there. At the restaurant, Melissa pushed her food around the plate. Julian kept talking, but she didn't hear half of it. You okay? He asked suddenly. She blinked. Yeah, I'm just tired. You should quit, Julian said. What? You should quit that job. You'd be happier somewhere normal. She frowned. Julian, that's not your decision. I'm just saying. He leaned forward, lowering his voice. You act tough, but I remember the softer parts too. You've always needed someone steady, someone who actually cares about you. Her stomach tightened. I don't need someone to save me. Well, someone should, he said with a small, smug smile. Her breathing hitched. Julian, stop. He leaned back, eyes narrowing slightly. So he's the reason you're tense. No, you're crossing a line. Silence. Sharp. Cold. Julian exhaled, forcing a smile. All right, let's reset. Forget I said that. But the mood didn't recover. Melissa left the restaurant earlier than planned. Julian insisted on walking her out. Halfway down the sidewalk, he reached for her waist. You look really good tonight. She stepped back quickly. Don't. His eyes flickered with something dark before he covered it with a laugh. Relax, I'm just being friendly. She shook her head. I need to go. Fine, but don't let him mess with your head. She didn't answer. She just walked away fast. When she turned the corner, she froze. Adrian stood near the streetlight, hands in his pockets, eyes fixed on her. Her breath caught. What are you doing here? He took a few steps toward her. Checking on you. You can't keep showing up like this. I know, he said quietly, but I couldn't sit there wondering. Her heartbeat stumbled. There's nothing to worry about. There is, he said. I saw you leave early. You looked upset. She avoided his eyes. It was nothing. Melissa, he said, voice low. Don't lie to me. She looked up then, defensive instinct rising. You don't get to demand that from me. He exhaled, tension rippling through him. I'm not demanding. I'm concerned. You say that like you mean it, she whispered. I do. She swallowed hard, suddenly exposed in a way she hadn't prepared for. Well, you shouldn't. A car horn echoed down the street. Neither of them moved. Then Melissa stepped back, voice shaking slightly. Good night, Adrian. He didn't follow. He only watched her walk away, feeling something break open inside him that he'd kept closed for years. If you can feel the tension shifting sharply now, hit like and subscribe. Comment below. Do you think Melissa senses Julian's red flags? The annual Coal Industries Charity Gala was always a spectacle. Cameras, donors, partners, and city officials gathered under one roof to support the company's education fund. Melissa knew the event inside out. She'd spent the last 6 weeks organizing donor lists, press packets, and Adrian's speech, which was exactly why she had to be there tonight. She stood outside the venue, adjusting the satin of her emerald dress, willing her heartbeat to slow. She didn't like dressing up. She didn't like attention. But this gala was one of the biggest nights for the company, and as Adrian's executive assistant, she was required to manage everything from the shadows. Her phone buzzed. Julian. Big night. I got invited last minute. They're featuring the stage setup I designed. I'm actually excited for this theme. She exhaled slowly. Julian had done design work for the gala venue earlier in the year. His invitation made sense, but the timing still made her chest tighten. Melissa. She turned as Adrian approached. For a moment, he forgot how to breathe. He'd never seen her like this. Not in 3 years. Strong, composed, quietly radiant. You look, he caught himself, very put together. She gave him a soft smile. Thank you, you too. He offered his arm. After only a brief hesitation, she took it. His entire body tensed under her touch. Inside, lights flashed instantly. Whispers floated through the marble entry hall. That's Cole's assistant? She looks different tonight. Are they here together? Pretty bold move. Melissa straightened her shoulders, lifting her chin the way she did in tough meetings. Adrian leaned slightly toward her. If anyone says something out of line, tell me. She shook her head. I can handle myself. He gave her a look. I know you can. Doesn't mean you have to do it alone. The warmth that flickered inside her frightened her more than the whispers. They moved through the event, greeting donors and board members. Melissa maintained her professionalism, but Henderson, one of the senior executives, smirked as soon as he approached. Well, Adrian, Henderson said, eyes sliding to Melissa, your assistant looks elevated tonight. Melissa smiled politely. Good evening, Mr. Henderson. And she talks, Henderson chuckled to another partner. Competent and pretty. Lucky you. Adrian's voice sharpened. We're leaving this conversation. He guided her away with a barely controlled intensity. You didn't have to step in, she murmured. Yes, I did. Before she could respond, a familiar voice rose behind them. Melissa? She turned, and there was Julian, dressed neatly in a dark suit, smiling warmly. Hey, he said. I didn't expect you to look this incredible. Adrian's jaw flexed. Julian continued. They invited me after they finalized the stage feature. It's a great cause, you know. I love the vision this charity has. Melissa offered a polite nod. That's good. You worked hard on it. Julian's eyes flickered to Adrian. Didn't realize we'd all be in the same room tonight. Adrian gave a curt nod. Enjoy the event. Oh, I will, Julian said, smile tight. Wouldn't miss the chance to support something meaningful. Some of us value that. Adrian's eyes cooled. Melissa quickly stepped between them. I need to get the donor lists reviewed, she said. Both of you, please. Don't do this here. Julian stepped closer to Melissa. Let me walk with you. Before she could decline, another donor appeared, a man Melissa barely remembered from last year's event. Melissa, you're glowing tonight, he said warmly. Come, I want your opinion on something. He reached for her arm. Melissa froze. Adrian didn't. Don't touch her. The music didn't stop, but the tension around them did. People turned, phones lifted. The man held up his hands, just being friendly. Do not touch her, Adrian repeated, voice cold. Julian's eyes widened with a mix of shock and something darker. Whispers began filling the room. He snapped at him. Is he jealous? Cole never loses his temper in public. Melissa stepped back, cheeks burning. Adrian, stop. He looked at her, really looked, and something in his expression flickered with worry, not anger. Are you okay? He asked, but she couldn't even answer. Not with the eyes, the murmurs, the assumptions. I need a moment, she whispered, backing away. She hurried into the hallway, heart pounding. A shadow appeared beside her. Julian. You all right? He asked, voice low. She closed her eyes. Julian, not now. He stepped closer, expression tightening. You saw it, didn't you? The way he reacted? Men like him. Her eyes snapped open. Stop. Julian's smile vanished. So you're really defending him now? His tone was colder than she had ever heard. And suddenly, Melissa wasn't sure she knew him at all. Melissa didn't return to the ballroom right away. She slipped into a quiet back corridor, leaning against the wall as she tried to slow her breathing. Her pulse still hammered from the stairs, the whispers, the way Adrian's voice had cut through the room like a warning shot. and Julian's sudden shift in attitude chilled her even more. She pressed her hand to her chest. "Get it together, Melissa." A soft footstep echoed. "Adrian." He approached slowly, as if afraid one sudden move would push her further away. "Melissa." His voice was steadier than she expected. "Talk to me." She didn't look at him. "This is a mess. You didn't deserve any of that, and you didn't need to escalate it. He touched you. It wasn't an attack." His jaw tightened. "You don't let people touch you." She finally looked at him, startled by how accurately he'd read her. It made something inside her unravel. "Adrian," she whispered, "you can't just react like that." His eyes softened for a fraction of a second, something she rarely saw. "I didn't think, and I don't usually lose control." "That's exactly why it scared me." He exhaled, shoulders tense. "I'm sorry." It wasn't arrogant. It wasn't cold. It was quiet. Human. Melissa's breath trembled at the unexpected sincerity. Adrian stepped a little closer. "Look at me." She did. For a moment, neither spoke. The air between them thickened, warm and charged. His gaze dropped briefly to her lips, then back to her eyes. Her heart tripped. "This is inappropriate," she whispered. "Yes," he said, voice low. "It is." They stood inches apart, the tension humming. He lifted his hand slightly, as if he wanted to touch her, but wasn't sure if he could. "Melissa," he murmured, "you have to stop pretending you're fine." Her chest ached at the truth in his tone. "Don't do that." "Do what?" "Make it sound like you see me," she whispered. "Because you're the last person I should be this vulnerable with." His breath hitched, the crack in his control widening. "You think I don't see you?" Their faces inched closer without permission. The empty hallway faded away. The gala, Julian, the whispers, everything blurred. He leaned in. She didn't pull back. Their lips were almost touching. "Mr. Cole?" They jolted apart as a staff member turned the corner. Melissa stepped back instantly, eyes wide, chest rising fast. I should get my things," she said quickly. "Melissa." She didn't let him finish. She walked past him, unable to trust herself if she stayed another second. Later that night, after the gala ended, she walked home alone, heels clicking against the pavement. The cold air stung her cheeks, but it kept her from replaying that almost kiss over and over. She needed distance, order, strength, anything. Her phone buzzed. Landlord. Rent adjustment notice. Final date? Tomorrow noon. Melissa stopped walking. No, not tonight. Not now. Her stomach twisted as reality crashed over her. She wouldn't be able to cover the increase. She'd been juggling too many bills already. She'd delayed too many payments. She swallowed hard. A knot formed in her throat, but she forced herself to keep walking. She wouldn't cry on the street. Not in public. Not ever. When she reached her building and climbed the stairs to her apartment, she found something taped to her door. A final eviction notice. Her breath caught as her heart plunged. She pressed her hand over her mouth, trying to keep herself quiet. She was out. Tonight. Inside, she packed quickly, clothes, laptop, toiletries, into one overnight bag and one tote. Her hands trembled only once. She forced them still. She would fix it. She always did. When she stepped back onto the street carrying her bags, the cold felt sharper, harsher, almost punishing. She walked toward nowhere, just trying to put distance between herself and the failure closing around her. The next morning, she arrived at work early, exactly like always, her hair neat, her smile steady. Bags stored behind her desk where no one would look, but Adrian noticed immediately when she walked in. Her clothes were the same as last night, her eyes dimmer, her shoulders lower. He stood from his desk. Melissa. She kept her voice light. Morning. His gaze drifted to the bag half hidden behind her chair. His jaw clenched. Hard. Why do you have your things with you? It's nothing, she said with a forced smile. Just reorganizing. Melissa. His voice was too quiet, too knowing. She froze. He took one step toward her. You lost your apartment. Her fingers tightened around the edge of her desk. Tell me I'm wrong. She didn't. Her silence broke something in him. For a long moment, Melissa didn't move. She kept her eyes on her desk, as if looking at him would make the truth too real. Adrian stepped closer, careful, like approaching something fragile. How long have you been without a place? He asked. Just last night, she said quietly. And you came to work like nothing happened. I had responsibilities, she replied. I wasn't going to break down over it. He studied her for a second, eyes narrowing. You shouldn't be handling this alone. She snorted softly. I always handle things alone. His jaw tightened. You don't have to. Adrian, she said, voice low but steady. I'm not your responsibility. Something dark flickered across his face. You think this is about responsibility? No, she whispered. I think it's about guilt, or control, or whatever happens when you let your feelings get mixed with work. He froze. She immediately regretted saying it out loud. I have a meeting, she said quickly, stepping away as if distance would reset the conversation. I'll be back later. She left before he could respond. Melissa walked fast through the hallway, heart pounding. She hated the way her voice shook. She hated that Adrian saw the small cracks in her that she hid from everyone else. She needed air. She rushed to the side exit of the building and stepped outside, just as a light rain began dusting the sidewalk. She pulled her coat tighter, lifting her face to the sky, letting the cold distract her. She whispered to herself, "Stay strong. You always do." But today, the words felt thin. Adrian didn't wait more than 2 minutes. He grabbed his coat, left his office, and followed the route he knew she took when overwhelmed. Melissa didn't know he paid attention to things like that. He found her outside, standing in the quiet drizzle, shoulders hunched slightly. Melissa? She turned, startled. Rain dotted her lashes, making her eyes shimmer. I told you I needed space, she said. I gave you 2 minutes, he replied. Despite everything, her chest tightened. Go back inside, she murmured. No. Adrian. He stepped closer. I can't pretend I didn't hear what I heard. You're homeless, Melissa. She winced. Don't say it like that. How should I say it? Like it's temporary, she whispered. Like it's not pathetic. His expression shifted. Anger, frustration, and something raw underneath. It's not pathetic. You refuse help. That's what's frustrating. I'm not refusing help, she said, voice trembling. I'm refusing pity. I don't pity you. Then what is this? He opened his mouth, closed it, then stepped into her space until the rain soaked both their coats. This is me doing something for once instead of pretending I don't care. She drew a sharp breath. You shouldn't care, she said softly. He swallowed hard. Too late. Her heart thumped painfully. Adrian. You think I'm interfering because of control, he said quietly. But that's not it. Then what is it? He looked directly into her eyes. Rain slid down his temple, but he didn't blink. I haven't slept since I saw you with him. Her breath hitched. Adrian. I can't think straight, he admitted. I can't focus. I'm angry at him, at the situation, at myself. Why at yourself? Because you were hurting and I didn't know, he whispered, and when I did know, I still didn't say anything. Melissa's chest ached at the vulnerability he'd spent years suppressing. She shook her head. You're crossing lines. I know. You're my boss. I know that too. We shouldn't. I know. They stood there, breathing the same thin, rain-heavy air, hearts beating too loudly. He lifted a hand slowly, hesitating before brushing his thumb along her cheek. Not intimate, but gentle enough to break her completely. "You don't have to be strong with me," he murmured. Her lip trembled. "I don't know how not to be. I'll show you." Just then a shadow appeared near the entrance of the alley. They turned. Julian. He stood under an umbrella, watching them with an unreadable expression. "Well," Julian said with a strained smile, "this explains a lot." Melissa took a step back. "Julian, where did you come from?" "I came to check on you," he said, eyes sharpening. "You didn't answer my messages. Again." Adrian shifted slightly in front of Melissa, protective without making it obvious. Julian's eyes flicked to him. "Of course he's here." The hero swoops in. "That's enough," Adrian said coolly. Julian ignored him, his gaze locked on Melissa. "So you're choosing him." She froze. "Julian, don't do this." "Oh, I'm doing it." His voice cracked, insecurity leaking through. "I've got a good job. I work hard. I help people. But you fall for the billionaire with dead eyes and a god complex?" Adrian's fists clenched. Melissa shook her head. "Julian, stop. This isn't you." "It is," he snapped. "This is me realizing I never stood a chance." Her heart sank. Julian let out a broken laugh. "After everything? You pick him?" Melissa whispered. "I didn't pick anyone." Julian's voice dropped low. "Yes, you did." And then he walked off without looking back. Melissa stood quietly, rain dripping from her hands, her chest tightening with exhaustion and heartbreak she couldn't hide anymore. Adrian stepped closer. "Melissa," he said softly, "look at me." She did, and her defenses finally slipped. Melissa stood trembling in the rain, watching Julian disappear down the street until he turned a corner and was gone. The drizzle blurred the city lights, making everything shimmer, soft and shaky, like her. She wrapped her arms around herself. "I didn't want this," she whispered. Adrian stepped closer, not touching her yet, but close enough that she felt the heat of him against the cold. "You didn't do anything wrong," he said. She laughed softly, tired, aching. "Two men at once? One losing his mind over me, the other losing control in front of the press? Feels like I did something." "That wasn't your fault," he said firmly. "Julian's reaction was about him, not you." She looked away. "He was a friend. Someone from my past. Someone who reminded me of simpler days. I didn't know he would twist like that." Adrian's eyes softened. People show who they are when they feel small. Her lips parted slightly at the honesty in his tone. She wiped her cheek. "I'm tired, Adrian. I'm tired of pretending I'm fine. Tired of acting strong so no one worries. Tired of being a burden to myself." "You're not a burden. I feel like one." "You're not." His voice was steadier now. "I've handled billions, Melissa. Managed crises. Rebuilt companies from ashes. None of that scares me." He stepped closer, eyes locking with hers. "But the thought of you walking home alone last night with no place to stay, that scares me." Her chest tightened painfully. She had never seen this version of him. Not once in 3 years. "Why?" she whispered. His breath caught. "Because you matter." The rain softened around them, becoming a mist. Melissa swallowed, overwhelmed. "You said you'd show me how to not be strong all the time," she said. "How exactly do I do that?" "By letting yourself lean," he said. "Even a little." She shook her head. "You're my boss." "Then I'll fix that," he said. "I'll restructure your department, or step back. Or—" She grabbed his coat sleeve. "No. Don't throw your entire life off balance because of me." He exhaled. "It already is." She looked up at him, rain streaking down her cheeks. Adrian, you don't let people in. I'm letting you in. And that doesn't scare you? It terrifies me. The admission stole her breath. He reached for her slowly, giving her space to pull away. She didn't. His hand cupped her cheek, warm against the cold. You don't have to be strong right now, he said softly. Just be here. Her eyes glistened. And you don't have to pretend nothing affects you. He allowed a pained smile. I'm learning. She leaned into his hand. Just a little. Just enough. And the world seemed to finally exhale around them. Adrian, she whispered, I'm scared. Of choosing the wrong person. Of breaking again. Of being too weak. You're not weak, he said, thumb brushing her cheek. You've been carrying too much alone. That's not weakness. That's exhaustion. And you? She asked. What are you afraid of? He hesitated. His pride warred with honesty. Losing control, he said, but losing you scares me more. Her heart twisted. Her voice shook. Kiss me. He didn't move for a second, just stared at her, stunned by the vulnerability she allowed him to see. Then he stepped in. His lips met hers gently at first, as if asking for permission. Melissa's fingers curled into his coat, pulling him closer, deepening the kiss. It was slow, aching, desperate, months of tension unraveling all at once. When they pulled apart, breaths unsteady, she rested her forehead against his. What happens now? She whispered. What you want, he said. Not what I control, not what anyone expects. What you choose. She let out a shaky breath. I choose you, she said quietly, even if I'm scared. He closed his eyes, relief washing through him. Then we'll figure the rest out. She smiled, small but real. And my apartment? You're staying somewhere safe tonight, he said. We'll sort the rest in the morning. Her gaze softened. Not because I need saving. No, he said. Because I don't want you to face everything alone. She pressed her hand to his chest. Then don't face things alone either. He covered her hand with his own. For the first time in years, Adrian Cole didn't feel like he had to control every corner of his world. And for the first time in months, Melissa didn't feel like she had to hold herself together alone. Two people who hid behind strength and pride, finally breathing. Finally choosing each other. If this ending touched you, make sure to like, subscribe, and tell me in the comments. Do you want a part 2 for Adrian and Melissa? See you in the next story. Cheers!